Alright, so let's finish off my Halloween reviews with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Now, this one I dare say is underrated, but it still has a lot of bad shit in it though. Like, it's not the best sequel to me, but it has a lot of strong things about this movie that are stronger than most of these sequels, which is funny because I don't think this is my absolute favorite sequel, or film in the Halloween franchise, but this has some of the best stuff in any of the films in this movie, and I will get to that. But it also has some really, really shitty things about it, just like the first Rob Zombie one. And of course, I'm going to give good things about it and bad things about it. This one I'm just really mixed on, but there's a lot of really positive things about it that I really can give this. And it's the director's cut I'm going to talk about because this Scream Factory box set only has the director's cut on it. And I don't even think the theatrical cut is really available, like, on Blu-ray. I think maybe on DVD, but I don't really see it. I rarely see it say theatrical on Halloween 1 and 2, Rob Zombie's films. They're usually unrated, which is a weird thing because I haven't really seen the theatrical cut of each. I've only seen the director's cut, basically, of both times, or the unrated cuts. But anyways, let's get into Halloween 2, one of the most strange, I feel like this is one of the most strangest Halloween films, but also I feel like this is honestly the most ambitious one out of all of them. Besides the first one, this is the most ambitious film. It really gives, whether you love this movie or hate this movie or in between like I am, this gives a lot of things in it that was not anything in the franchise before. It gives a great performance. It gives so much like ballsy things to it that whether you love it or not, at least give it the ambition it has. Like the first Rob Zombie Halloween, I feel like that does have a lot of ambitious things about it. This one is ambitious and really unique. But like I said, there's things I like and dislike about it. So let's start from the beginning, where it opens up with a white horse quote, kind of like how in the first movie it had the quote, a quote in the beginning of the movie, but this one's about the white horse. And here we go, the white horse thing. And I don't hate this thing in the movie, but this is one of the reasons why this movie is hated for some reason. And I don't really care much for the white horse thing. Like, I don't think it's terrible, but that's something that's really ambitious and something that's different for this franchise. And I like that Rob Zombie thought of something different to do. And even if I don't love it, I think that's a cool thing that he did something different. I'm glad for that. But like, it has the white horse quote. And then it has a new scene that would be from the first film, where like when Michael is in a sanitarium, young Michael, and Deborah comes in and talks to him, his mother, and he says like, "Oh, I had a dream about you, and I had a dream that you were all in white," and she even gives him a white horse like toy. So that kind of bridges the way into that white horse thing, which I thought was kind of interesting. Even though I don't really love that, I think that's cool how he incorporated that into the sequel, even though it doesn't make sense it wasn't in the first one at all. But still, it works in this film alone, I think. And then I really liked, after that, it cuts to 15 years later, Halloween 2007, where, you know, right after Laurie shot Michael, because you never really get a definitive answer. You really don't, because it could be interpreted like Michael was either shot and he's dead, and Laurie's doing these murders, and like she's just imagining this the whole time, which I think is a cool thing that nobody ever points out. That could have been something that happened in this movie. Or because she has visions of like Michael doing stuff. Like, how could she tell that? Like, I think that's a really cool thing, that like maybe she's the one behind all of this. And of course they couldn't outright say this, because if there's no Michael Myers, then people would be pissed, like always with this franchise. But it could have been like Michael's been dead the whole movie and Laurie's been the one killing. And I think that there are a lot of moments in this movie that point out that and make that seem like it's feasible, like it actually could be happening. But let's just say for sanity's sake, it's Michael. Like, Michael's the one who did it, and Michael survived that shooting in the head. And they even say in this movie, like, she grazed him which I don't know what the real truth is, but I feel like Rob Zombie did that on purpose just to make it that ambiguous, which is a cool thing because usually Halloween the films after the first one are not really ambiguous. They tell everything that is not shown, and this one didn't do this. This one in the first Rob Zombie movie didn't really do that with some things, like with Michael. Did he get shot? Is he dead? Is he alive? Like, I know you see him on screen the whole movie, but how do you not know that that's Laurie hallucinating or Laurie doing those killings? Like, you don't really know. And he did a good job of making it seem ambiguous, and that's my theory about the movie. But like I said, it cuts back to after Laurie shot Michael, maybe, whatever. And then Chief Brackett finds her on the road in the rain, and she's crying and saying, like, I killed him, I shot him. And this is where it already is more better with Scout Taylor Compton's character Laurie in this movie, because this is the best part of this movie is her. And her acting is fantastic in this movie. Some of the best in the franchise. This acting and this performance is amazing. It is so memorable and so raw, and it works really well. She's a really underrated actress, and I liked how she really gave it her all in this movie. This is her. I haven't seen all of her movies, but this is the movie that I remember her in the most. Like, just on sheer dramatic, like, performance and raw intensity. Like with her, like she's incredible in this movie, and she really sells it. But that scene at the beginning where Chief Brackett talks to her and she's like, I killed him, and she doesn't know what to do, and then she gets taken to the hospital, and it changes to showing how Annie survived and Loomis survived. They both lived through the night, which I thought was cool that Annie survived. And I said that in the first thing. It's like you didn't really know in the end of the first Rob Zombie Halloween if Andy lived, but Annie did live and made it through. And I liked that character survived, and it was a good excuse to have Danielle Harris again in another Halloween movie, because again, she's great and she got screwed over in the other films. So it's like, or in Halloween 6. So it's like, yeah, it's great to have her again. I really enjoy her. But it shows her, Annie and Loomis survive. And then it cuts to one of the most disgusting scenes in the movie where it's hard to watch for me. I get really squeamish during this scene where Laurie is taken into the hospital screaming, I don't want to die, don't let me, like I don't want to die. She just keeps screaming it over and over while she's on a gurney just being pulled in, and they sedate her. And it shows extreme close-ups of them like picking apart parts of broken like body parts, like fingernails just falling off, just parts of her body that are like not impaled, but like that are just cut up to where it feels so real, and it's disgusting to watch, especially seeing like the fingernails thing where like they're pulling off like broken fingernails that are just falling off. That stuff grosses me out. That stuff, it looks so real, and it just disgusted me so much. But I like though that we had the girl who played Stretch. I think her name was Caroline Williams. Was it Caroline Williams? I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't say it on here. It doesn't say it on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. What? Why would it not? Oh, Caroline Williams. Yep, it does say it. Caroline Williams, Stretch from Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 is one of the nurses, and I thought that was really funny. Like, that was just a cool, like, it's a cool connection with a horror actress brought back into another horror film, like how Dee Wallace was in the first Rob Zombie Halloween. I thought that was funny, and how Brad Dourif is in both of these movies, and of course, Danielle Harris. Like, it's funny seeing these actors from different horror come back into this film. Like, it's just Rob Zombie picked a lot of good people, and even though Caroline Williams is only in the movie for like 5 minutes at most, like, that's cool seeing her. That's cool seeing this actress who basically went off the radar, and she's great. And I liked her in the scene she was in. And Octavia Spencer is in this too. As one of the nurses before she got bigger. Like, she did have roles like during this time, but she didn't have that big like how she is now. She's gotten a lot bigger with her roles, and she's been in a lot more films that are really good films too, like Hidden Figures. But I like that was funny that Stretch was there, Caroline Williams. And like I said, I just get squeamish watching them like deal with Laurie's like injuries, like close up, showing them like peel off stuff on her body. It's like in Saw 4 whenever they have the autopsy of that one character and they show every single detail of it. That kind of stuff makes me squeamish. Not the stuff where it's like they die and like it's like somebody's like head like explodes or like something like that. Like stuff where it's like they're already dead and it's like an autopsy. That for some reason gets me more than like people like getting impaled or getting their head cut off or silly or stuff like that in horror. Like I feel like that's the least gross thing in horror, like in terms of like violence. But showing autopsies and showing them like rip bodies apart or like take stuff off bodies, like that grosses me out more than like seeing people get killed in horror. And I don't know why it grosses me out. But then we keep cutting back to, again, Rob Zombie's shitty, like, annoying characters, where it isn't as bad in this movie as the first one, but we've got some annoying-ass characters, though, where we got these two coroners who take Michael's body, and while they're in there, one creepy old guy's talking to the other guy while they're driving and said, like, "Did you see the ass on that dead girl?" And then he says, like, "What's the difference between jelly and jam?" And the guy's like, "What? I don't know the difference." And he's like, "You can't jam your ass up you can't jelly your ass up a dead girl's ass, like, or you can't jam it." I don't know. It's one of those two, but it's just such a silly, like, I don't know, like I said, I'm not a prude, but it gets annoying in how overly vulgar they are. Like, it's vulgar to be vulgar, and it gets obnoxiously annoying in both of these films. And that's one of my biggest downfalls with both of these films, is just how fucking annoying some of these people can be in terms of being so incredibly vulgar. To where it's just stupid and obnoxious. But, like, yeah, he's talking about fucking a corpse, and then while he's doing that, he screams, "Cow! Cow! Cow!" And then, like, they hit a cow. And then Michael gets out of the car, or out of the van, goes up. The other guy's dead, like the driver, because, like, he got slammed and, like, impaled or something. And then the guy who was talking about fucking the corpse is sitting there, like, and he literally, for, like, 2 straight minutes, he literally just says, "Fuck, fuck, 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 fuck," and he's just like bleeding out of his mouth, screaming "fuck, fuck, fuck, fuck," and it's so annoying. So just, oh my god, just cut that shorter. Like, that is just so unneeded and so annoying, just so stupid. But he just says "fuck" for like 2 straight minutes, and I'm just sitting there like, this is such wasted time, so stupid. But, like, then Michael, of course, kills him. And then Michael walks out after he kills the guy, and he sees his mother, like, dead Deborah, like, in white, like he did in the beginning of the movie, whenever he said to his mom when he was younger, like, "I saw you in a dream, you were all in white." So, Deborah's in white, even though she's not alive. Is it a figment of his imagination? Again, it doesn't explain it, but I do like that. Even though I'm not a super big fan of the white horse thing and her in white, but, like, I like the fact that it doesn't explain it. And Deborah's like, "Oh, Michael, Halloween is coming. You need to bring home your sister, so he can," like, it doesn't really say why either. It's just like, bring her home. Like, I mean, I think that means just kill her, I guess. No, I don't think it means that, because in the first movie he wasn't trying to kill her. He was just trying to be with her. It seemed like, more than kill her. That's what I interpreted, at least. But yeah, it has her at the white horse, and it's just like, okay, it's weird. And then this is where the movie gets interesting, because this is a really great scene, but I like the fact that it's literally, and the trailer did play this up, it seemed like a lot of the movie would be like Halloween 2, like the original Rick Rosenthal's Halloween 2, where Laurie's in the hospital, and they did this for like 20 minutes, I guess, at least of the movie, probably. I'm assuming like 15 to 20 minutes of her in the hospital. And I like how it's doing the same thing as Halloween 2, but it's so different. It's really is, because it's incredibly brutal, incredibly intense, and you realize it's a dream, but like I like that he put that into this movie. Like the hospital thing is in this movie. That was pretty cool. That he connected the second Halloween film, 1981 Halloween 2, to this one, like doing an homage to it, but it's not like the whole movie. I thought that was a really clever thing. I thought that was cool, and it's really brutal in that scene because it's a dream. And I mean, of course, Michael would do that anyways, like be that brutal, but that was just a really cool scene in the hospital. And it's just like the dreams, like I don't know when the dream starts, but she's in the hospital, Laurie is, and then she walks out, finds Annie alive, and she cries like while Annie's sedated, like she's knocked out, but she goes up to Annie, just holds her and just cries, and I'm like, that's a really good scene right there, because Laurie has somebody that lived with her. Like I really thought that worked emotionally well and really made this character more likable, because she wasn't unlikable in the first one, but she had annoying stupid lines like Rob Zombie gave her, like her fucking a bagel, finger fucking a bagel, like in the first one, but in this one she has way more. Like, people still complain that she's annoying, but I don't think she's annoying in the slightest in this movie. I think that all her reasons are warranted why she's like being a bitch in this movie, and I think that she's great in this movie. Like, just Cap Taylor Compton is great, and she plays this character great. But Laurie goes in, finds Annie, cries over her body, like she's just glad somebody's there and glad that Annie survived. It's a great scene. And then Laurie, like Octavia Spencer comes in and says, "You can't be in here, Laurie," and she's like, just for a minute, and she's like, "No, sorry, dear, you gotta go out." So Laurie starts walking back. Then Michael comes and kills Octavia Spencer, and this is the second moment in the movie where I actually feel really squeamish every time I watch this, because Michael goes up and stabs Octavia Spencer in the head. You don't see it, but the noise they make is disgusting. Like, it stays with me. I'm like, of course I've never known what like being stabbed is like, or a sound of being stabbed, but that sounds scary real. Like, that's really is effective whenever he gets Octavia Spencer. And then that shot of her, because you don't see her get stabbed in the head, but then the shot where you see her, the knife is just left in her head as he walks away. That is just amazing, and how brutal it is, but incredibly like disgusting, but in the best best possible way. Octavia Spencer's death is really incredible. It's so hard to watch. And then Laurie, like, since this is a dream, well, you don't realize that until she wakes up if you didn't see this before, but if you know, it's a dream. She starts finding all these dead bodies. Like, there's people like hanging on the, like, as a gate to get her. She's got to literally grab the dead body to move it to get down the stairs, and then she falls into a pool of dead bodies, like 50 people just dead in like a big pool area underneath the hospital. And of course Michael's chasing her, and then she goes and finds a security guard named Buddy, and he leaves her, and it's already pretty intense. I love the fact that he leaves and you don't know if he's gonna die immediately. And he does in the dream, but like, it does a good job of building up. Like, she's alone in this little shack room right by the hospital, like the one that you watch, like the people coming in. And Buddy like gets killed, of course, and then Laurie's like, Michael runs in at her, breaks the door. Then he like gets an axe, flies on the screen, then she wakes up. And that just completely shows how traumatized this character is to have that whole dream that happened. And that hospital scene was great, just so brutal, so scary, so it worked so many great ways. Like, that's one of the best scenes in the movie. Like, she wakes up after this dream and just is just horrified. Like, it's been 2 years apparently, and I don't know if the director's cut and the theatrical are different. I think one might be a year different and one might be 2 years different in terms of the timeline. But I think this one is 2009. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's 2009 somewhere. But I also want to mention before I leave the subject of the hospital, that dream, she's got that security guard named Buddy. I thought that was funny that she's got a stuffed animal, stuffed bear named Buddy that she mentions later in the movie. I just thought that was a nice touch, and it kind of shows how her dreams are kind of like manifesting into real life in a way, because it's like she's having nightmares, but like she's using things from her real life, like a teddy bear named Buddy, and like it's this guy who was going to save her in the dream. I thought that was a pretty nice touch. But yeah, I love the fact that this character is an absolute wreck, and of course with Jamie Lee Curtis's character, you've seen Laurie Strode in a wreck too. But this one, this interpretation of Laurie Strode is great because the other Laurie Strode, which continuity you're looking at, Laurie after Halloween 2, the next movie she's in is Halloween H2O or Halloween 2018. And Halloween H2O, she's a wreck, but she's not like as much of a wreck as this Laurie Scout Taylor Compton is in this movie, because she doesn't have, because it's been 20 years for that character in H2O, but this one, it's like this character just went through this shit. This character literally 2 years ago went through this awful ordeal. And living with Annie and Chief Brackett keeps that inner memory every day, and she even mentions that in a line. I just think that it's great showing this character in a wreck in this way, and it makes this character, like, I don't care if she's a bitchy character in this movie, it's supposed to be like that. This character is supposed to be broken, torn, destroyed because of all the horrible tragedy that she endured, and just living with two people that were a part of this, and it's still stuck in her head no matter what, because she can't escape it. I love that. I really love that idea. And I love how Chief Brackett is so guilty that he let Laurie live there, because where else would she go? She had nowhere to go. The Strodes died in the last movie. Michael killed him, of course. So I love the fact that Chief Brackett, like, he gets a lot of development in these two movies, as opposed to like the original Halloween and Halloween 2, because he doesn't have much in those. He's just there. But like in this one, in these two movies, he's really got an arc, and he really, and of course I'm spoiling the whole movie, so like at the end of the movie he's the only one that lives, so that's funny too, that he's the only one who makes it out. But I love how he's so guilty that he let Laurie live with them, because that and it's a kind thing to do for all the shit she's been through, every single thing she's been through. And I love the fact that Laurie and Annie have this kind of love-hate relationship going. Well, like, more with Laurie. Like, Laurie is freaking out more than Annie, because Laurie, like, Annie says something to her, and it doesn't seem like it's trying to be antagonistic, but Laurie makes it that way, like, in her head, because there's a line whenever you first have them talking at the breakfast table, like Chief Brackett leaves, and then Annie and Laurie are talking, and then Laurie's saying that she doesn't want to go to the psychiatrist, and Annie's like, one day at a time, babe, and she's just saying that in a way like, one day at a time, it'll be better. But then Laurie says, one day at a time. If I hear that fucking phrase one more time, I'm gonna lose it. And she like flips out on Annie, because she just, I don't know how to feel. Like, this character has been torn and broken, so anything can set her off. And I don't feel bad that she's being a bitch, because she has been through hell, and like, I know Annie has too, and Annie even points it out later, but Laurie, has more psychotic tendencies being part of this family, and I like the fact that it doesn't say that she's the killer in this movie, and that's just my theory. But the anger she has in this movie is stuff like Michael Myers has when he was a kid, and I think that moments like that where she freaks out at Annie for no reason is great. That really works. Just I really love that, and then I love the scenes with her and the psychiatrist. Those are incredible, and Margot Kidder is the psychiatrist. Oh, and R.I.P. Margot Kidder. She died like this year, which sucked, but she's I don't know if this is her last role or if she had any roles after this, but she was great in this. Like she's really good in this movie as a psychiatrist. But Scout's performance again shines in these scenes where Laurie's in the psychiatrist's office, talking to her, and she talks about how she sees Annie and it reminds her of everything that she's gone through, and sometimes and Laurie's literal words are, whenever I see Annie, I just don't know, something comes up and I just wanna, and she like grips herself like she wants to say like I want to kill her or something, which would make sense because she has kind of the same, after being through this traumatic ordeal, she's having this type of anger that Michael had. So I thought that's a really cool connection, and it's a subtle connection to how she is related to Michael. And that's just a really great moment with her talking to the psychiatrist the first time. And there's a lot of times she talks to her, but every one of them are great. Every scene with her and Margot Kidder is really, really great. Like she just says, like, Annie is a constant reminder, seeing her scars. Like, it just, the Scout's performance really pulls such a strong, like, such a strong response out of me, and just a great performance. It just feels so real and so legit. And I like the fact that Loomis has a change where Loomis is now really a dick. Like, he's horrible. He was already kind of stuck up in the first one, where like he wrote a book on Michael because of all what he's been through with Michael. But now fame has gone to his head, and he's an asshole. He's awful, and his scenes in the movie are awful. And it's not awful in the way like like the movie's terrible. It's just awful in the way his character is almost irredeemable, just the way he acts towards people, especially his like assistant, which I'll mention that soon. And then the movie introduces Harley and Maya, which are okay characters. They're not like amazing, but they're just okay. Then I don't like Michael. So Michael is alive, I guess, and Loomis is pissed about it because he goes on a talk show and gets like made fun of, and then like stuff like that with Loomis shows how arrogant he is, and like how he's trying to deny that Michael could be back. And whenever he says shit to his assistant, like, and his assistant is a girl, by the way, a woman, so he says, of course, a horrible thing to her, but he says like, if I want your opinion, I'd beat it out of you. Like, that just irredeemable. Like, I hate that shit. I hate whenever people say shit like that, especially to a woman. That's just so unfair, so horrible. But Loomis just is irredeemable in this movie because he's just so unlikable in all aspects. But I liked that he was so unlikable that it did show that fame went to his head. It makes him mad hearing his lines. But I mean, it's supposed to. It makes a response, and I like that though. And of course, there's this random scene where it's just out of nowhere. It's there to have Michael kill somebody, but there's a scene of Michael with rednecks, and like he kills them, and then he eats a dog. But it does have a point to it because it has Laurie eating while Michael's eating a dead dog. So maybe it's implying that they have a connection. I think that's pretty good. Even though the scene before it was pointless, but I like the fact that it shows Michael eating a dog and then Laurie eating pizza, but then like she gets sick because it's like she's imagining eating the dog too, which is at one point of theory why she maybe could be the killer, or maybe she's just imagining that and Michael's not actually there, or because like he's not with anybody else except for those rednecks, so who would have known he's there? And then we get this weird black and white scene where like all these people in costumes are like celebrating something, and Laurie's having this dream, and they're wearing all these weird masks, and it's really strange, really odd. It's a cool visual thing, but it's just so weird to have in this. And then, like, she dreams of repeating Michael's killings from the first movie, and that really, like, it works really well, because it like reenacts Laurie going like Michael did at the first movie, where he kills Ronnie and Steve and Judith, like, in the house. But, like, instead of Ronnie being in the chair tied up or taped up, it's Annie, and she slits Annie's throat in the dream. And then it gets so out there and so weird and so scary, where, like, you see the people at that black and white party with Michael and his mom, like young Michael, old Michael, and his mom, and she's saying, like, there she is, there's my baby, and it shows Laurie in a glass, like, chamber, kind of like how Snow White is, like, in a glass thing. And then Laurie, like, starts, like, beating on the thing, screaming and freaking out, and then you have Laurie hallucinate more, where she kills Annie in the dream, like Michael did Ronnie in the first one, but then she starts screaming, "You fucking bitch! You fucking bitch! You fucking cunt! Like, I'll fucking kill you! I'll fucking kill you!" Like, she just is screaming this, like, over and over, and it's got, while this is happening, it's showing Annie, like, all bloody, screaming, "Laurie, no! Laurie, no!" And it's just, like, flashing back and forth, and it's effective, because it shows in this dream how fucked up she is now because of this horrible thing, and how she's related to Michael. She is having psychotic breakdowns in her nightmares, and that just really, really works really well. Those moments like that are just effective, really strong. And then we get to another scene with the psychiatrist, where she's breaking out more, or she's breaking down more, and, like, she talks about this guy dressed up as Frankenstein, like at City Hall or whatever, talking to kids, like, 'cause it's Halloween. It's like he's just saying nice things to these kids, and Laurie is losing it, where she's saying, like, this guy in the Frankenstein mask is not saying anything perverted to the kids, but Laurie is so warped that she's saying to the psychiatrist, like, this guy in a Frankenstein mask was literally telling kids all these inappropriate things, like saying gross things to them. And, like, I like the fact that it cuts her saying this while it's showing what's really happening, and nothing's happening. It just shows how far off she's gone down the deep end, and that, in terms of the acting, is just incredible. Great scene. Great moment. And then it just really works, because then the psychiatrist is like, I want to help you, and then Laurie just screams, like, yeah, you want to fucking help me? I would help me if I got $100,000 or $100 an hour. And, like, the psychiatrist is like, Laurie, that's not why. And Laurie just lost it and is screaming at her, like, fuck you, you know what, fuck you, like, you're more fucked up than I am. Like, she is just losing it, like, incredibly, so far down the deep end, but it works so incredibly well with how this performance is and how it's written. Like, it's written really well in these moments. I really think these moments are great in this movie, with Laurie breaking down. It just shows a great arc with how this character loses it. And then whenever you get Laurie and Annie again at the house, it's great, because Laurie's already freaked out on Annie already, and then she loses it, and they both lose it, and both argue at each other, and then Laurie's like, get the fuck out of my room, get the fuck out of my room, and of course it's not even her house, it's fucking Annie and Chief Brackett's house, but whatever. But Laurie's like, get the fuck out of my room, and then Annie just says, she just says, like, you act like you're the only one that got your life fucked over. Like, you're the only one who lost everything. Like, I like that scene, because it showed that Annie, who is the opposite in this movie than Laurie was in the first one. Laurie didn't want to party much. This time, Laurie goes out to party after this, like she has become Annie, and Annie's kind of the homebody now. But that scene is great between them both, where they both break down, and Annie tells her straight up, like, you think you're the only one who lost everything. Like, again, just really great emotional moments in this movie. Great, strong points with these characters. I really love them. And then we get to another pointless scene. Again, it's just there to have Michael kill somebody because it's a horror movie and it's dumb. What the fuck? It has that Frankenstein guy I was talking about, and he's the owner of the Rabbit in Red, and he's got like a stripper with him, and Michael comes in, kills this other guy there, then kills that guy, and then the naked stripper, and it's completely just no need for this at all in the movie. This scene is absolutely pointless. Nothing comes out of it. Even whenever it shows Michael's mom's ghost there, it's like, yeah, she worked at the Rabbit in Red, but there's literally no point. Like, there's nothing that makes a reason for that to be there. It's dumb. Such a dumb scene. Why? And a reason to say the Rabbit in Red, because that was in the first Halloween movie, the original. I think, well, I mean, they said it was by name, I think, in the Rob Zombie one, but I guess it was in both of these that it was called the Rabbit in Red. But then I like the fact that Brackett, like I said, gets more development in these movies than the originals, where Brackett reads Loomis's new book and realizes that like how fucked up Loomis is, and like he writes that like Laurie Strode is, like it says in the book, like Laurie is Michael's sister, Angel Myers, and Brackett is pissed, and he calls Annie and says, "If you see Laurie, tell her to come talk to me, please." Like he wants to make sure she doesn't break down knowing this, and then it's great because after this, it cuts to Loomis doing a book signing, where this older man comes in after he talks to that creepy guy Chet at the book signing. Then like he meets this other man that comes in, and this man has a picture in his book of a girl, and then Loomis says, "Oh, she's beautiful. How old is she?" And then the guy says, "You don't remember, do you?" And he says, "No, should I have?" And then it's a picture of Linda from the first movie, and that's a great scene because then she's like, "Your monster killed her," and and Loomis is like, "What?" And then he's like, "You kill her? You kill her?" And like he pulls out a gun and like freaking like in this book signing, he pulls out a gun and people restrain him, but he says, "I'm gonna kill you, Loomis. I'm gonna fucking kill you," because Loomis just giving all this information in this book made it's so horrible and shitty that he's doing this to completely get all this money off of these horrible tragedies. And I love the fact that a person from the last movie, like the dad of Linda, like that was cool that he came in and like freaked out because of course, why, like he lost his daughter, like, and you didn't know who he was, so that was a great reveal. That was a really good scene. Then it cuts to Laurie figuring it out. Laurie goes in, sees that book, like walks by a bookstore, grabs that book, and she's in the car reading, looks into the book and reads it, and then starts crying and just screams, "Fuck, fuck, fuck, fuck," and just starts breaking down and losing it. And this makes her even more down the deep end and more psychotic because she figures out that she is Michael Myers' sister. And it's great because then she goes home to Annie because Brackett hasn't talked to her yet. She goes home to Annie and cries and grabs a couple things, like that teddy bear named Buddy, and she says, "I'm leaving," to Annie, like, "I'm leaving, I'm getting the fuck out of here." And then Annie's like, "Why, Laurie, why? I don't understand." And then she says, "I'll tell you what, why don't you tell your dad that Angel said fuck you?" And then she walks out. And then Annie's like, who's Angel? Laurie. And then like she leaves. And Laurie's in the car screaming, "Fuck off, fucking asshole," because like somebody was right beside her. So she is just losing it. And like I said, it's just so well written in how this character breaks. And with the fantastic performance by Scout Taylor Compton, it just works so well. Such a great build-up. And then the scene, whenever she goes back to find Harley and Maya at their house, she crashes there. But she brings the book, and she cries, and this is a great line where she just cries and says, "I'm not me. I'm not me. Do you understand what the fuck I'm saying?" And then she just says, "Not really. Who are you then?" And then Laurie just says, "I'm Angel Myers, Michael Myers' sister." And then it shows such a strong performance and a strongly written character. I really love that. And then Laurie starts, because she's so depressed and so pushed down, she decides to be the partier now, like Annie was in the first movie. Like I said, they're the opposite now. That's a pretty cool, nice little thing too. But now she wants to party. She goes with Harley and Maya, and then again, Harley and this guy go away to go and have sex, and then the guy and Harley dies while Laurie hallucinates, which might imply, how do you not know Laurie's the killer? It's just a thing I'm pointing out. And she hallucinates seeing Michael and Deborah, and she's like, "What do you want from me?" And like, I think Deborah says something like, "We want you to come home, baby," or something like that. And that's interesting and great. And then of course they go home, and then Maya and Laurie are at the party, and they're gonna go home, and then Annie is at home, and then Michael goes in and kills her. And then this works really well because you don't see it. You just see, and it has no noise either. Like, Annie's just in the bathroom, the mirror closes, Michael's there. She looks up, it shows a shot of her running, no sound. You fades to black, her screaming. Then Annie and then Laurie and Maya come home, and they go upstairs, or Laurie goes upstairs and looks around while it keeps cutting, like jump cuts, to seconds of the brutality, and that works incredibly well because you don't see Annie get killed or get brutalized. And then Laurie finds Annie on the ground and cries over her, and she's still like the last movie, almost dead. But this time she's not gonna make it, and she doesn't. She dies in Laurie's arms, and Laurie just it's a sad scene for Annie to go, and it's a sad thing for Laurie to go even farther down. And then Maya, of course, gets killed, and then Laurie flees and runs away from Michael. And then Brackett goes home because he heard the distress call, since he's the sheriff. And then he goes and finds Annie and just loses it, and that's another great performance with Brad Dourif. And then it shows real actual footage of Danielle Harris as a kid with a dog, which I think people think is weird, but I think that it works in just showing just like this younger version of this character. I don't know, I thought that was fine. But then, like I said, he finds Annie, and then I thought that was really sad. And then this is where the movie ends, in the shack, which is a weird way to end it, but I mean, it wasn't too bad. It was just kind of strange. But Michael takes Laurie to the shack, and then again, you don't know. I guess she's not hallucinating, or maybe she is, because you don't get the real truth of like they're hallucinating or not with the mother, and younger Michael. But younger Michael is pinning Laurie down, and then Deborah is saying to her, like, "Repeat after me. I love you, mommy." And then Laurie just struggles, and then Deborah just says, "I love you, mommy." Like, she says it more like, you gotta say it. And then Laurie just looks up and says, "I love you, mommy." Like, she says it like out of spite. And then Loomis comes in and tries to save the day. He comes in and sees Laurie, and then he just says like Laurie's just being pinned down by nothing, Loomis sees. And then he's like, "Laurie, what are you doing? Get up. You're not being held back. Get up." And then Michael, is about to stab Loomis, and then, he screams, and it cuts to the outside of the shack, so you don't see the violence. But then Loomis dies, and then you see Laurie come out of the shack. And I thought that was interesting, because then it ends to where Michael is dead too. Wait, does she kill Michael? I don't even know now, honestly. But anyways, Michael and Loomis are dead now, completely. Laurie comes out, grabs Michael's knife, but then somebody shoots at her, And Brackett screams, "Hold your fire!" And then he shoots her, and she dies. And then it has a cool cover of "Love Hurts," but like it cuts to this, I guess, imaginary location of this sanitarium where Laurie's at, because Laurie's in this room, beat up, destroyed, and then she sees the mom and the white horse, and then she gets this creepy ass like smile just build on her face, and it's a great way to end the movie. That was great, a great way to end it. But yeah, the movie is really interesting because, like I said, I feel like there's a theory for me that like Laurie in a lot of moments could have been just the killer, but they didn't want to do that, I know, because it's not Michael Myers, and of course they've had that before, so I don't know, but I really do enjoy this movie. I think that it has a lot of pointless scenes, a lot of pointless killing scenes in it, even though it's a horror movie. I know it's supposed to be like that, but man, there's a lot of scenes that could have been cut, and also just some of the dialogue is really bad again. Some of these characters are so horrible, like to the point. I know he's trying to make them horrible, but it's like so obnoxious to even like be able to stand to watch. So those are the things I really don't like about it. But I think that in terms of performances, Scout Taylor Compton has one of the best performances in this whole franchise. Maybe even, besides like Donald Pleasance, maybe even the best performance. Donald Pleasance and David Lee Curtis, she's probably the best after that in this movie. Like, her performance is really incredible. And she just really gives off such a raw performance, and her character is written so well. Every scene of her breaking down is incredible. And there's a lot of good moments in it, but there's a lot of bad moments in it, like I said. But yeah, this is an interesting one, and I really enjoyed rewatching it. So yeah, Halloween 2, the last film we've got until Halloween 2018. So I'm glad I talked about him, but I'm really interested to see where Halloween 2018 is gonna go, because I'm my most anticipated movie of the year, obviously. But I love this franchise. I'm glad I finally got to talk to him. Even though it ended on Halloween 2, which is just a really mixed note. But overall, I enjoy it. So many things about it, but there's things I don't like about it. So overall, again, just really mixed, but a little more on the positive side than the first Rob Zombie Halloween.